This episode of On the Record is brought to you by Associated Equipment Distributors. I'm Executive Editor Kim Schmidt. Welcome to On the Record. Here's an update on what's currently impacting the ag equipment industry. The National Defense Authorization Act was passed out of the House Armed Services Committee on a 55-2 vote. The bill, H.R. 3838, did not contain an amendment with right to repair language, and as a result, the North American Equipment Dealers Association returned to neutral on the legislation. The Senate also released its version of the NDAA, S2296, this week with updated language. While both bills aren't directly related to the ag industry, there was potential to set precedent. We checked in with NAIDA's Director of Government Affairs, Kip McGuire, for more details on the development.
We appreciate that Congress is trying to address this accessibility and availability of, tools, parts, documentation for our nation's troops in harm's way. And the ag equipment industry, especially, right? We've kind of already recognized that and solidified it as a premise of doing business, or as a cornerstone of doing business in the ag industry, with the MOUs between manufacturers and the Farm Bureau, right? And so we appreciate that. We still think that it's got a lot of room for improvement. It's still kind of bad policy the way that they're going about it. They're addressing a symptom, not necessarily the root cause in our analysis of it, which is very similar to what we see from the ag industry whenever this comes up at the states level, right? A little different in the details, but at the federal level, Senator Warren cited in her press release a report from the RAND company that is a very large think tank, and she cited it as some examples of why the DoD needed better right to repair and better access to parts and things of that nature. But it was she kind of cherry picked some of the information out of that report, and their conclusion was that the real problem for DoD and not having this access and availability of parts and documentation and information was a lack of training and knowledge on government contract officers and their ability to make sure the contracts between manufacturers and the government include the rights to that information and those parts and things. And so really it's a workforce issue for them. And NAIDA brought this up with the members of the Senate that we talked to. And so, kind of analogous to that, we've been saying this for years on the ag equipment side of, it's not about availability of parts and things, right? It's a workforce issue. Is we're drastically under or short manned in qualified technicians to be able to do just the amount of work, and especially on the within the context of the complexity of equipment. And so both of these issues really, whether you're talking about right to repair in the ag industry or, this right to repair at the DoD level or the federal level with the NDAA, the root problem is workforce issues. And the right to repair legislation that we see is just kind of an easy fix for a symptom and not the real problem.
This week's dealer on the move is Ziegler Ag Equipment. The AGCO dealer announced the opening of its newest facility in Emmitsburg, Iowa, marking the company's 7th new location in 5 years. Now here's Noah Newman with the latest from the Technology Corner.
Thank you very much, Kim. So we recently caught up with Ryan Schaefer, VP New Holland North America, and Craig Harthorn, retired president, Oxbow Hay and Forage, during the AEI Executive Briefing Mid-Year Review. And we asked them, what kind of precision technology products are really gaining traction with your customers right now? Here's what they said.
Really anything that a farmer can see an immediate return on. We haven't seen rapid adoption yet of some of the more advanced technologies, like the sense and apply technologies or that type of things that have caught most of the media attention. But Steve mentioned earlier on that they've got a portfolio, and certainly a lot of that comes from CNH, where their sales staff has had a really straightforward time justifying returns to the customer. And when a customer sees that immediate return, those are the products that we're seeing move the most, drive the most value for dealers, are the products that are driving value for customers. Now, I think there will be some adoption rate for the more advanced technologies, but the stuff that's really selling isn't necessarily what you're seeing a lot of press about right now.
Yeah, for us on the Oxbow side right now, the technology that's selling the best is on the application side of things. As far as trying to put down your material, pounds per acre and so on. So that's where we're seeing the best adoption as far as the technology, and we're trying to promote that on some of our larger spreaders. We're working on some proprietary stuff on the hay and forage side as far as windrow quality and so on. So we've got really nothing to compare to on that. So for us, it's just mainly on the application side. When you start talking larger spreaders that are upwards of $100,000 or more, it's easier to justify spending the money on the technology for measuring your pounds per acre. So.
Yeah, a lot of interesting insights there from Ryan and Craig. To watch the full session of the mid-year review, we included a link in the web article for this segment on precisionfarmingdealer.com. In the Technology Corner, I'm Noah Newman. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Noah. As of July 23rd, corn prices were $3.98, down 1 cent from our last episode. Soybeans closed at $10.05, down 4 cents, and wheat closed at $5.40, down 7 cents. Farm Equipment is working on a special project to mark the Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association's 75th year. We interviewed Lee Rogness, the retired dealer principal of Interstate Inc. in Fergus Falls, Minnesota, who sold his dealership to RDO in 2008 and then created and managed the entire Shortline division of RDO thereafter. A dealership without Shortlines is like a garden without carrots, he says, adding that if a dealership is going to service its customers to the fullest degree, it needs to have a product that fills the gap that their mainline manufacturer is not providing. Here's Rogness with more on the importance of Shortlines to the business.
We always seen it, when I started out in the business as a solo operator, and of course I had some partners, my brothers, but our whole idea was to meet the needs of the farmer and what he needed for equipment. And our major manufacturers, first of all, they just didn't build a forage line. They didn't build a feeding equipment. So we had no choices but to look to the outside of our major manufacturers for that. And it was quite natural because some of those manufacturers have been in business for years, as long as the major manufacturer for that matter. So that's how we built our product offering. Well, then as time went by, we found it, we were selling other compatible and not necessarily competing pieces of equipment to the farmers. And they needed it. They came to us, and it just gave us a complete product offering for our farmers, our local farmers.
Not only did Shortlines fill a product gap for the dealership, but Rogness recalls a story that highlights the foot traffic they brought.
Well, I'll give you an example for an answer on that. How would that be? The J.I. Case Company, the dealer in this local town here, the person that owned it lived to be an elderly person, and his son and his son-in-law operated it for a number of years. Well, the time came that they wanted to do something, so they made the decision, and it was made that they were going to close it and retire themselves. And the J.I. Case company wanted a dealer, and they got the idea that it was before we were a John Deere dealer, and they came over to us, and they'd have to wait to see me. And then when they come in my office, they say, "Goodness, we just can't believe all the people that walk into this place. Every time we're here, there's people in your store. And we just don't see that in our stores anywhere else. Well, obviously, they were coming in for more than just parts of our major lines. They were coming in for all these other short lines. And these were people that fed livestock and milked cows and beef cattle and poultry as well. They were all, that was the farm scene at that time. Everybody had a little something. And they seen the traffic. So obviously we had traffic.
As we continue to work on the FEMA Anniversary Project, we invite you to share contributions, memories, and anecdotes of what the Shortline manufacturers or the association have meant to your business. You can email them to mlessiter@lessitermedia.com. In our last episode, we took a look at how the full-line manufacturers performed in the North American Equipment Dealers Association's annual Dealer Manufacturer Relations Survey. This time, we're going to take a closer look at how some of the short lines performed. Linamar owns 4 of the short lines rated by dealers: Bourgault, Salford, Highline, and MacDon, and all of them showed improvement in their scores over last year. Dealers' ratings for Bourgault were up in 11 categories, and the manufacturer had the highest average mean score of all the short lines at 6.22 on a scale of 1 to 7. It also nabbed the highest score in 9 of the 12 categories: overall satisfaction, product availability, product quality, product technical support, parts availability, parts quality, communications with management, marketing and advertising support, and manufacturer response to dealer needs and concerns. Highline Manufacturing saw improvement in 7 of the categories, with its largest improvement coming in marketing and advertising support. It had a strong average mean score of 5.71. MacDon improved in all categories over 2024, and its largest improvement was in product availability. MacDon's average mean score of 5.46 was up 8.32% over last year. To be included in the report, manufacturers must receive enough dealers rating them. This year, Salford was included for the first time. Its scores ranged from 4.72 to 6.62, with its highest rating being parts quality. We'll have a full analysis and breakdown of the Shortline and tractor manufacturers in the September Shortline edition of Farm Equipment. This week's DataPoint is brought to you by the Dealership Mind Summit. There's still time to register. Visit dealershipmindsummit.com to learn more. June revenue for tractor dealers increased 2% year over year, according to Constellation Dealership Software's latest monthly market update, which analyzes transactional sales data from a consistent group of 224 dealers reporting over the past 3 years. The report is based on a group of dealers who have reported their data over the previous 3 years. The dealer count, whole good unit sales count, and total sales numbers above show the actual numbers of dealers and total sales being analyzed. It represents combined sales of parts in all departments, whole good sales, and service repairs. Dealers reported $85 million in total sales in June 2025, up $1 million from 2024, and up $5 million from May 2025. As always, we welcome your feedback. You can send comments and story suggestions to kschmidt@lessitermedia.com. Until next time, I'm Kim Schmidt. Thanks for joining us.